bottom, it's normally a story that comes with that. Sometimes you laugh, sometimes you cry, sometimes you just remember some good shit. Welcome to the Bottom of the Bottom podcast.
Y'all know what time it is. This is the Bottom of the Bottle podcast show. It's the Hummmpday Happy Hour Tap In. I am your host, Jay Walker III. That's my co-host, Carolina Dirt 803. What is good with you, player?
Hey, like you said, boy, it's the Happy Hour Tap In, bro. It's Wednesday. We're a little closer to the weekend, so we can turn up just a knob. We can turn the knob up just a little bit, shall I say.
I know that's right, man. Look, you're living for the weekend like we always do. And man, check this out. We got another fabulous episode, another renowned guest. Ms Nikki Alexandria, originally from Detroit, spent a lot of time in Atlanta. Now she commutes between the two. Businesswoman, building a conglomerate, got her hand in a little bit of everything from health and wellness to physical fitness. She was a hairstylist. Just a black woman extraordinaire. So we want to welcome you, Ms Nikki Alexandria. How are you this evening?
Hey guys, I am doing amazing. How are you this evening?
Oh man, well. Tight as that hair wrap.
You ain't lying. Hey, when she had the camera down, I said, "Hey, make sure you get that hat." You know, I know it ain't a hat, but that's the first thing.
Right, I got you. Yes,
that
wrap got to be tight.
Indeed, and this is not the hair wrap that Monique was talking about. I'm just starting shit. Don't follow me up.
Right. Look, I don't even know what she was talking about. Listen, I do not keep up with a lot of stuff that's happening in social media land because I'm working. So if certain people make references to certain things, I'm like, what are you talking about?
Now, you said a whole mouthful, man. That has got to do with more than health and wellness these days than anything. Too much social media.
Yeah.
But we're going to go ahead and get to the show, man. Our first segment of the show is what we call, this is first call.
Okay.
So we're walking into the bar. We're going to ask you 10 questions. I'm going to get 5. My brother going to get 5. No right or wrong answer, nothing like that. Just some light questions. Just get a read on you. Get a bead on how you might think.
Okay.
All right. So that being said, I'm going to start with the superpower. If you could have any superpower in the world, what would it be?
Oh, any superpower in the world that I could have. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I don't know what this power is called, right? But do you guys remember that movie, Jumper?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So whatever that superpower is called, that's the one I want.
Telepathy.
It's not telepathy.
It's not telepathy. It's something else. Telepathy is what Aquaman had.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's something else. I don't know what it's called, but I would definitely want the ability to be able to travel, from place to place, just jump wherever I needed to
Teleportation.
jump.
Teleportation.
That's Teleportation. It. Yes.
Okay.
That's dope. You the first one. You the first one that said that.
Yeah, you the first one to say that one. And that's
really? Yeah. That's dope.
It's one more that I want to hear before I say it. As soon as I say it, everybody gonna be like, yeah, that's cool too. This one is just more simple. Hot or cold?
You say how what?
Hot or cold?
I can't say warm.
I mean, it can be anything. We talking about beverages, temperatures.
Okay, so let's go with hot. Let's go with hot.
Okay. Mm-hmm. More scared of heights or wildlife?
Heights. No. Wow, I'm gonna take that back. Wildlife. Only because certain animals I don't play with, certain insects I don't mess around with. I have a terrible fear of bees. I know as little as they are and as cute as they are, I have jumped out of a moving vehicle to get away from a bee. So
how fast was the vehicle going?
It was probably coasting at the time, and the crazy thing is I was the driver.
Oh no! Ain't no more ride with you.
Throw your hands up.
Yeah. I was the driver, and yes, I said it's either the car or the bee, and I I said, hey, he can have the car, and I jumped out. Yeah.
You was by yourself? Please tell you.
Yeah, I was by myself. I was by myself.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Now,
yeah. Are you allergic to bees?
Watching me, somebody was behind me driving, and I was trying to, get. I don't know what I was trying. I was trying to save my life because the bee was trying to kill me.
You should save your life.
I was trying to save my life because I know the bee was trying to end my life at that moment. And so I ended up on the passenger side of the car trying to get away from the bee. And I jumped out on the passenger side. Mind you, I'm the driver. And this guy was behind me watching the whole thing with me going crazy. He can see me from the back. So when I jumped out, he jumped in the car. He ran and jumped in the car and stopped the car. And he was like, oh my God, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, it's a bee in the car. And he's like, I thought you were having a heart attack or a seizure. I'm like, no, it's the bee in the car. Can you get him?
Oh, shit.
Hey,
man, I should have let that lady go on ahead, man.
Hey, she was marked on, what's it called? Blue Street. No, it wasn't Blue Street.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, so wildlife.
No.
Yeah,
I can dig it. dig it.
Yeah.
First athletic experience, whether that's softball, track, volleyball.
First athletics experience would be I was athletic pretty much my whole life, but I started off dancing. I don't know if you would consider that an athletic experience, but it is. Okay, so dancing.
I'd be tired.
Yeah, dancing. Yeah.
Okay.
First athletic experience was dancing.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Last question. You got you're sitting at a table. It's 2 empty seats.
Okay.
Dead or alive, who you putting in them 2 seats?
My mom and my dad.
Woo! God bless.
Yeah.
First one to say mom and dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first one to say mom and dad.
Yeah.
Well, that's my 5.
All right. So if you was a high school teacher, what class would you teach?
PE.
Okay.
Yeah. PE.
Public transportation as far as taxi or bus driver?
I would do taxi. Because I get to meet people and I get to talk to people.
You meet a lot of people
one-on-one.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Do that. Yeah.
If you was a rapper, what would be your alias?
Slick Nick.
I like it.
Yeah, that's old school. That's throwback right there.
Yeah, that was my name. When I called myself trying to be a rapper when I was in high school. It was middle school. It was Slick Nick. So hey, that works for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
One that everybody liked. When the last time you fell?
Oh gosh.
You're a dancer now. This should have been a long time ago.
No, it was not. That's why I'm laughing. Okay. It was actually maybe about 2 weeks ago.
Oh no.
About 2 weeks ago. Doing too much, not paying attention, and you know how it is when you miss those last 3 stairs. So yeah, about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. Yeah.
All right. It's the end of the night, and you got these 2 big black dudes drunk at your bar. What's the last thing you tell them?
2 drunk guys at my bar.
Yeah, you the bar.
And it's time for them to go home.
Let's preface how drunk we are.
Okay.
We not belligerent drunk now.
No, we're not
just
belligerent.
Feeling good.
You realize we had too many drinks, but we're still functioning.
Okay. And it's time to go home.
It's time to go home.
What do I do? Tell y'all behind. Look, listen, you're going to have to get up out of here. Time to go. Just like on Color Purple when they was like, time to go. Come on. I'm going to have to lead you on out. Time to go. Time to go. And I'm just going to lead you right on out the door.
Man, that was simple.
Indeed.
Yeah. Make sure you kick us out before I leave the tip and before I pay the bar tab.
No, you're going to pay first. Now, you're going to have to pay first. You're going to have to pay for your drinks and everything. We're going to have to close out the tab, and then you can time to go. Come on, guys. Come on, fellas. You get to go home. Then I'm going to make sure you get home safely. I'm going to call a, Uber or,
No, they're not driving like you. I don't want no bees. I don't want no taxi.
Well, it's at nighttime, so we don't have to worry about that. We don't have to worry about that.
Well,
that is always crazy. Where do the bees go at night? Does anybody know?
They go to their little hives and they go to sleep.
Oh, so you're a bee expert now?
yeah, I've studied them enough to keep away from them and know, like, okay, I don't have to worry about them at night. They sleep at night, and then in the daytime, they come looking for people like me to, just terrify them. That's all.
All right. Well, check this out before my brother get to his thing. So, one reason why I contacted you, Nikki, is because I'm on TikTok, right?
Okay.
And I see the dude doing the warrior call or whatever.
Okay.
And I seen it, and then I scroll through, and then I see you do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, damn, that went pretty hard. And then the next day, I seen you do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And the next day, I started seeing people duet with you, which is doing it at the same time. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was very interesting. That's what made me want to reach out. Just from seeing you on TikTok, on your social media before, we got your bio and everything. I just thought that was pretty cool. You took some, I ain't gonna say you took it from somebody else, but you took some and you ran with it and made it your own. Yeah. And I thought that was pretty dope of how you did that. So that's one reason why I reached out to you.
Thank you. It's a lot of people have been reaching out to me behind that. And, I've been on TikTok just maybe a little over a year now or whatever. And, just like with any new social media platform, you're trying to find, your rhythm. Okay. You're trying to find, what works for you. And so, everything about what I do and who I am the youngest child of my mother, and she was a very spiritual woman, not religious, but very spiritual. And so the older that I'm getting, I find myself wanting to connect more with, my spirituality, connect more with who I am and my ancestry and things like that. And so I was laying down one night. It was like maybe 11 o'clock in the evening. I'm laying down, I'm scrolling through TikTok. And if you're like me, you might see little videos and you save them like, oh, I'm going to go back and do that one. Oh, I like that. I'm going to go and do that. I don't know if I'm the only one, but that's what most people will kind of do, right? And so I came across Hoodoo's video, and I was like, oh, that was just like you. That was pretty dope, right? And so I said, I'm going to go back and do that. And then this, and I don't know if it happens. Some people think, it's weird or whatever, but I heard this voice that said, no, do it now. Right. And I'm like, I'm gonna do it in the morning, or I'm gonna do it tomorrow. And it was like, do it now. Okay. So I got up and I'm like, whoa, let me get myself together. Okay. Let me get my garb and let me get my gear on. And, and I did the video. And when I posted the video, I went to sleep. By the time I looked at it, I think it might have took me like 30 minutes, and I had about 20 views. Okay. And then I woke up the next morning and it was like 500,000 views. And I'm like, what the hell? What just happened here? Right. And then, it went on to like, now it has like, almost like 1.5 million views, and, and people were reaching out to me. And then I start, showing other parts of who I am when it comes to my spirituality. And of course, more and more people started to, reach out to me. And where I am now, because I am all about mind, body, and spirit. That's just my whole entire brand. As you see, I have my nutritional supplements. I do health and wellness. I do workouts. I went to school for physical fitness and kinesiology. I have a background. Of course, I was a hairstylist for like over 20 plus years. So everything about me is health and wellness and health and beauty, mind, body, and spirit. And so doing that video just kind of opened me up to a whole nother arena of people who are really out there searching for themselves. Okay. And I don't get into, religion, but people are more open to stepping outside of that box of religion and trying to figure out who they are from the inside. Who are they? Who are their people? Who are they connected to? And I think that's what's important. I think the more that we find out who we are and who we're connected to, our ancestors, our history, the more we can come together as a people, right? As a whole big old tribe, and do what we need to do in order to leave a true legacy for our kids. So I hope I answered, or if it was a question, I don't know, but I just got to talking. My bad.
No, it was dope because you remind me of the older commercials back in the day, like the old BT commercials. Like I always tell my brother, I miss the old BT commercials. Like it was like, even when I was watching, I was like, she's spiritual in some type of way. Just watching, I was like, you got to be spiritual. You just don't do that and then keep doing it. and do it differently. I mean, some stuff you did the same, some stuff you did different, but to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was pretty dope. And
Yeah.
I think I reached out to you like in December, and I forgot all about you. Contacted me like, yeah, I do it. I was like, I had to go back and look. Oh, okay.
What was that, right?
Because I forgot I had offered you an invite to the show. That was the other thing. But I thought it was so dope that you were doing that though. I'm not
Thank
gonna lie.
you.
It's that voice though. It's that voice that made you say, go ahead. I will go ahead and do it now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So between the warrior call and the voice that made you do it, you know, I'm the same way. Like, I'm not gonna be in church every day. Church people, you know what I'm saying? I love my mama. We are from the South, both mother and father. We was in church every Sunday till I was old enough to get a job. I think that's the only thing that got me out of church. So I was already struggling with that. And then, you know, as you get older, as you read books, as you find out certain things are not necessarily matching up, you decide that you're going to make your own, you know, your own way or your own ideology.
Yeah.
I'm going to take it back to your mother. Well, if you could sum up your mother in experiences in spirituality, what would that story sound like? Or one of those stories sound like?
One of the stories, okay. And I share this story a lot, okay. You know, my mother was very, very big on energy and, you know, manifesting, you know, things like that, right? We used to have a meditation room, you know, when I was like in elementary school, okay? So she was definitely ahead of her time, you know, especially from where, you know, in the 60s, well, not, I wasn't born in the 60s, I was born in the 70s, but from the 70s and 80s to where we are now, right? Okay, to where we right. I'm not going to the 60s, no, in the 70s. But you know, back in the 70s, that wasn't heard of for Black people to have meditation rooms and things like that, right? So she was always, but now it's more, you know, people are more open, but she was very, very big on that. I mean, I was reading things like, you know, dynamic laws of prosperity in elementary school and creating, you know, the Wheel of Fortune things, you know, the vision boards. We were doing that, you know, when I would have my little friends come over, we were doing vision boards and stuff like that. And this is like in elementary school. But one story that I talk about a lot to people, and it's all about, you know, what we believe and the energy that we put forward, right? Everything that we think, everything that we dream about, everything that we can visualize, we can actually manifest, right? We can make it happen in our lives. And so I remember at one particular time, my mother, she was a single parent, okay? And we didn't live in the best neighborhood in the world, okay? She definitely had to, you know, go on her journey for us to live a better lifestyle. But anyway, I'm in elementary school and it was the first day of summer vacation. Okay. First day of summer vacation. So it was the first Monday that I got to wake up and I didn't have to go to school. I was ready for play. I was ready to get out there and play. I had to kick ball. I had to play jacks. I had to roller skate. You know, I had to race some people. I had some stuff to do, right? And so I come down, right. I had a full
She looked like she raced barefoot. She took her shoes off the run.
Oh, I used to run track too now. I used to run track too. So I was quick. I didn't race the girls. I raced the boys. All right. So I had my whole day planned out. I come downstairs and I'm ready to get my breakfast because I had to power up. Okay. So I come downstairs and my mother's, you know, she's looking out the window, and we used to live in like these townhouses. Now they look like little projects, but at the time they was nice. Okay. But we lived in these townhouses and they had courts. So everybody's front doors were kind of in a court facing each other. And then the backyards were connected, okay, through the grass and through the sidewalks and stuff like that. So she's looking out the window out the back. And so she's like, you know, in this deep thought. And I said, you know, I looked up and I'm like, you know, Mom, what you thinking about? Because that's one thing she used to always ask me, what you dream about and what you thinking about. So I said, Mama, what you thinking about? And she said, oh, baby, she never looked down at me. She said, oh, baby, Mama just thinking about some money. So I said, okay, you know, well, she in this deep thought. I didn't even get my food. I just kind of nestled close to my mother and I decided I was going to look up out the window too. Okay. So as we're looking out the window, now there's like maybe 8 houses in the row, like in our row, and then there's 2 at the top, and then there's 8 on the other side. And then on the other side, it's like the same setup. So we're like the 5th house in, okay? So our grasses are connected. You have your different sidewalks that are connected through the different houses. But anyway, long story short, we see like in the air floating this like this big old pile of dirt. Okay, and it's kind of circling around. You know how it looking like a little tornado just circling in the air. It's like a big old pile of dirt, and it comes down the very middle of the homes, the ones on the left and the ones on the right. It's coming straight down the sidewalk. It's in the air, and it's just flowing in the air, coming straight down. So me and my mother are looking because, I mean, who sees a big old pile of dirt just circling up in the air? Okay. So we're watching the dirt, and it's circling, it's coming closer to us, and we're looking. But now the closer it gets, it kind of changes from like this brown color to now it's looking like this mossy color, right? So we're like, what in the world is that? And we trying to figure out what is this big old pile of dirt flowing through the air. So when it gets to our houses, now mind you, it's past the 4 houses on the left, and it's past the 4 houses on the right. So it's past 8 houses already, okay? Now when it gets to our yard, it kind of turns right to our yard, right? And when it gets to the middle of our yard, it stops spinning, and then it falls. And what do y'all think fell?
Drugs?
Ain't no damn drugs fell. Damn,
You an asshole.
I ain't in the buff. What you think?
You said it was green, so gotta be money.
It had to be money. There fell a big old pile of money. I'm talking about cold hard cash, dividends, guap, cheddar, whatever you want to call it. The money fell right there in the yard, right? So my mama looked down at me. I looked down at my mama. We shot at the door. We picking up all this money, right? We picking up a whole pile of money out the yard. Nobody else's yard. It fell in our yard. We picking up the money. Now, to this day, my mother passed in 2008, right? She passed from stage 4 lung cancer. Mother passed. And to this day, I never knew how much money it was, but I can remember her as a young girl being on the phone with my aunt crying. And she said, girl, I don't know where the money came from, but it was the exact amount of money that I needed.
That's crazy.
Exact amount.
That is crazy.
So when people tell me stuff is impossible, when people say stuff like money don't fall out the sky, I'm like, you a lie. Because I synced it, okay? I synced it. And that was proof for me, for one, that my mother she was powerful, for one. That was just one incident. That was just one thing. That was one story that I can remember. But that showed me that how powerful my mother was. But for 2, how powerful we are when we really, really put our minds to something, when we really believe, when we really focus, when we really set our intentions on getting the things that we want, anything can happen. There's no limit.
That's super powerful. And one thing that I feel like I'm going to take from your mom already is that question, what do you dream about? I like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For somebody that suffers from being able to get a comfortable night's sleep, like that's a real thing for me. You know what I mean? Are the 2 of y'all familiar with the Crown Act? I'm going to go off a little bit.
No,
are y'all familiar with the Crown Act?
Oh, were they cut off girl hair the other day?
So basically, black folks get so much flack for our different types of hairstyles that we can have from day to day. The Crown Act is supposed to protect us from discrimination.
Yes.
No matter what, kind of hairstyle you have. So I believe it was yesterday. There's a young lady competing in a weightlifting tournament.
I saw that video.
She got braids with beads on.
Right.
And they're telling her that she can't compete.
Yeah, to take the beads out.
It's not necessarily a question. It's more, I guess it's more along the lines of, what are we doing so bad to these people that they got to make all these extra rules for us?
They're trying to take our power. They're trying to take everything that makes us who we are and think they're making us weaker, but they're not. They're making us furious. And when I say furious, I'm just talking about inner furious. I'm going to fight harder. I'm going to give that extra inch. I can run an extra mile. I can swim an extra lap. That's what they're really doing. They're actually making us more powerful when they think they're stripping us down. But you're stripping us down to something they really don't want to see pure. They don't want to see a black person pure. A pure black person, they do not want to see, because it's all types of problems behind that. We mask it with inbreeding our cultures with other cultures. But when they start telling us how we can physically conduct ourselves. So when you're a slave, it's nothing but your skin and hair.
Mm-hmm.
And when they start stripping stuff like that away, or you're too big for this event, you got too much muscle for this event, you're too much this for this, they're stripping us down to the core black people we are. So now we're going to have to emerge like the Incredible Hulk. Like something's going to come up out us. But it's crazy because they do that, but then the transgender swim dude, like you made this girl cut her hair for powerlifting, but you let this white dude who was last, ranked 400, say he wanted to be a woman, and now he beat a woman by a mile. That makes no sense.
It's
I'm gonna let her
like that.
I'm gonna let her run it.
Absolutely.
I think it's definitely they are afraid of not just the power, but afraid of all the years that, you know, their ancestors have treated our people like pure, like we weren't human. Okay.
Oh, you curse? You good?
Okay. They treated us like their ancestors treated our ancestors like shit. Okay. So this is years and years and years of them being, you know, taught that they were, you know, superior. And now here the truth is coming out. Okay. And so they try to keep that same, you know, mindset, or have us to keep that same mindset that we aren't powerful, you know, we are less than, because our people have been brainwashed. But we're in an era right now where, again, so many of our people are opening up their minds. So many of our people are finding out and realizing who they are, and their asses, they're terrified. They're terrified. So they're scrambling. They're scrambling like, no. We can't let them know they're beautiful. Wait a minute. Stop. You can't wear your hair like that. Wait. No. You're too beautiful to be doing this. No. You're too athletic. We can't show that you are so athletic and that you could really beat any one of our people anytime, any day, any place. No. So they're scrambling. They're trying to figure out ways to stop us, but they can't. They've been trying to do it for so long. They cannot stop. There's no stopping it, right? And all, like you said, the only thing that is doing is making us more powerful. That's the only thing that is doing right now. It's making us more and more and more powerful. And it's going to come to a time where they just going to have to realize it is what it is and go ahead and, you know, just move out the way. Move. Don't let us do us. Let us do us. Period.
It's been said, you know, on multiple occasions that we the most forgiving people in the world. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost exhausting. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost exhausting. Like, for every trial, tribulation, obstacle that you put in front of us, we generally handle it and find our way around it. But why are you still trying? We don't mean nobody no harm. And I think that's the thing that gets overlooked. You know what I'm saying? We just want to live like everybody else. We want the same shit that everybody else wants.
Yeah.
But
now,
that is too much. Apparently that's too much.
I might get a little flack for this, but this is just my personal opinion. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we were on the right track at one point, okay? Mm-hmm. Especially back in the 60s and things like that. We were kind of on the right track. I think that Martin Luther King Jr., I think he did a big disservice to our people. I think that we should have stayed separate. I think that we should have stayed segregated yet equal. I don't think that we should have intertwined with nobody, okay? And please understand, I have nothing against any other race, okay? I love people, but I just think that for our people, we have been at such a disadvantage with a lot of things based on the history of this country, all right? Based off of our history and what we have gone through. I think that we should have stayed segregated, let us have our own school. Okay, you don't want us in the school, no
Black
problem.
doctors, black
Right.
doctors and
Let us
lawyers in
have
the
our own
neighborhood,
police. Let us have our own
educators.
lawyers. Let us have our own justice system. Let us have cool. We ain't got to go over there with you. We don't want no parts of it. Let us stay separate. I think that I that's just my personal opinion. I would have loved to just stay separate. Okay.
Well, that goes to
We didn't have to integrate with nothing. We didn't have to do that. I didn't need to go into your restaurant for what? Y'all pie not even that good anyway.
Yeah, because that's whites only pies.
Right.
the
I
whites
don't
only
want
pie.
only pie. Okay. I want my pie anyway. Okay.
But we've had that before when you got Greenwood, Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yes.
It seems like every time that we move in a direction to, like they say, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps.
Mm-hmm.
If we work hard, we too can achieve the things. It's like y'all come over here and pour gasoline on shit and set
blow
shit
it
on
up.
fire.
You
Right.
see, they didn't file charges to the guy in was that Michigan? The one that was asleep and they killed?
Which guy?
Yeah.
Which one?
The ones where they
I
kicked
think that
in
was
the house.
Minnesota again.
Minnesota.
Yeah,
He was sleeping on the couch and they kicked in the wrong door.
Oh, kicked it and then shot him, and
Yeah, they let him off. I saw it today. They let
him off.
Yep.
Because he had a gun.
It doesn't matter. You in my house. That's like anybody. Listen, I'm in my home or I'm at my friend's house or whatever. Okay, I'm asleep. Ain't nobody said knock, knock, knock. It's police. Ain't nobody said nothing. All I know is somebody busting in the house with a gun. How do I know who you are? I don't know who you are. The first thing I'm gonna do is think to protect myself. Of course, if I get my piece with me, I'm gonna pick up my piece because I don't know who you are. Like, it's ridiculous.
And they had the key to the wrong house. How you got the key to the apartment? It's the wrong apartment, and y'all still kill that man.
How you keep going to the wrong apartment?
What?
The
Right.
wrong apartment has been the theme for the last 50 years.
Right. How y'all keep what kind of law enforcement is this?
You got all the information at your disposal, and you still going to the wrong
house.
Pulling over the wrong car.
When they get off, it's almost like, oh, my bad. It was a mistake. It was the wrong house. I'm sorry. No.
So I don't want to stay there.
Me either, because I see my little forehead getting red.
That's the intuition.
Hair wrap smoking at the time.
Okay, it's starting to smoke. I'm about to get my staff. I'm be like, hold on now.
Oh, that's a real staff?
Right.
Huh?
That's a real staff?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you decorated your mop room.
No, that's an ass kicking stick.
It is.
Oh, that's dope.
Thank you.
You are the CEO of Thrive4CBD.
Yes.
Talk to us. Tell us about that.
Hold up, you're hiring?
All
right, go ahead.
Oh, okay. We good? Okay.
Good.
So Thrive4CBD, I actually started back in 2020. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I started it because, one of the companies that I work with, which I have my nutritional supplements, my health and wellness products and stuff, we got into the CBD industry. Okay. And I really was intrigued by what CBD can do for the body. All right. CBD is derived from the hemp plant. And the hemp plant, of course, is not the same as the cannabis plant. They're like really close. They're like first cousins, right? But the hemp plant offers more medicinal properties. Okay. Which is why a lot of people who experience certain pains and, think, even though you can get that with cannabis, it doesn't give you the feeling of, getting high. Okay. It definitely does more, especially when it comes to healing the body. So I got intrigued by, what the hemp plant can do for the body, its natural properties, its healing properties. And so I started doing a little research, and then I said, well, you know what? Why not start my own CBD company because it ties into who I am as a brand, Fit with Ms Nikki, all of that. So let me see what I can do to start up my own CBD company. And so I got with my business partner. He's actually out of North Carolina. His name is Jason L. Scott the first. And so we got together and, we got with, some growers in Wilmington, North Carolina. We got with some growers. We got with, some people who would help bring our brand together. And then we birthed Thrive4CBD. So with Thrive4CBD, I have, CBD oils. I have CBD skincare. I also have the CBD buds that you can either smoke or you can use as a tea or whatever, right? So those are the products that I mainly have. And the people that I've been able to help with these products, a lot of veterans, a lot of people who experience ADD, ADHD, it helps them focus. People who experience certain pains, people who experience, certain neurological issues. Okay, and I can't get too deep into that, but a lot of brain stuff that happens to a lot of people. It helps with that. It helps with depression. It helps a lot of, the elderly people. Like I have a lot of people, my elders who I love and respect, and I hate to see them in pain. Okay, especially when they get to be 80 and 90 and some pushing 100 years old and they can't get around like they used to get around, and bones aching and, things like that, joints aching, because they're older. So these have been the products that a lot of them have been able to use. And all they do is take the products, they rub them on their body, they're able to function, they're able to get rid of their pain. So it's been, truly amazing that I've been able to start this company and it do what it's doing right now, and the people that I've been able to help along this journey. So Thrive4CBD, because you got to thrive in life. You can't just live, you got to thrive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you partner with also a vitamin and supplement company as
Yes.
well.
Yes. Now that company is called TLC.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is what
I want NutriBurst in the background.
Oh yeah, I love my NutriBurst.
That thing work. I think I was
It
taking it wrong.
does. It really does.
You're supposed to pour it in the cup, right? In the cap.
Well, you can pour it in the cap, but we have the individual packs that you can rip off.
I was doing it like that.
Yeah, you can, because we have this is the sea moss. I didn't have the NutriBurst next to me, but this is the sea moss, and you just rip it and
No, I was just pouring it up.
Yeah, you can do that too. It's a bottom of the bottle. Just pour the bottles. Hey, take it to the head.
You're one of the first people that got that right.
Okay. Yeah. Indeed. So we have they've been guests on the show, and they watch live from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
Some guests with like autoimmune deficiencies, things like sickle cell or lupus.
Mm-hmm.
What types of products do you have that can help with things like that?
The first thing that I would say is definitely CBD. Okay, hemp to start off with. Hemp really, it takes your body and it's almost like this is homeostasis. This is the best way I always seem to be able to describe it. This is where your body's supposed to be. But when you add on different autoimmune illnesses, when you add on certain pains, when you add on age, when you add on stress, when you add on all these things, your body starts to do this, right? Now your body goes from here to now it's here, right? This is homeostasis. This is where it needs to be. But now your body is doing this. Hemp gets into your body and it puts your body back into this place right here. It puts your body back into homeostasis. So CBD hemp is the first thing that I would tell anybody who has any autoimmune illness or anything that's going on in your body. Take hemp. Get hemp first. Okay. Get that right. CBD first, but get you some quality CBD, because just like with anything, you're going to have a whole bunch of products that say they do this, and you got to know what you're getting. So even for mine, and I'm not trying to do a shameless plug, but it really is a quality brand of,
so that's send me down the matrix. Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like, it goes straight from seed to bottle. Okay. There's not a lot of additives. It's really no additives, I should say. And so you're getting the purest form of the hemp plant with this CBD. Now, when you get into some others that say that they are, full extract or full this or this, that they kind of added some stuff in there, so you're not getting a pure form. So whenever you're picking a CBD company, just make sure that you do your research, for one. So CBD is for one thing. Now, when it comes to TLC, the other company that I partner with, one of the products that I would recommend is a product called chaga. Okay. And chaga is a Siberian mushroom, and it is for autoimmune illnesses. It is for, it helps with certain, I'll say diseases in the body. Okay. It's really a really great product, especially for people who have lupus. Okay. Especially for people who have lupus. So that is the one product that if I said you got to get anything, it wouldn't be the NutriBurst. It would not be the sea moss. It would be the chaga.
So what about the fat people like myself?
You are not fat, okay? You are not fat.
The big bony people.
Yeah, big bone. We're gonna say that's what we used to say.
So what about the big bony people?
So listen, if you're trying to lose some weight, the first thing you're gonna have.
I need to lose 100 pounds by Saturday because Sunday start a new week.
You just gonna have to cut half of your body off then. That's all. That's the only thing I can suggest that might work.
All right, go ahead.
I mean, seriously. Just cut half off, or just set the scale to say 100 pounds down, and then you good.
I'll go to the bluff.
I mean, hey, you got to make yourself happy. Create your own happiness is what I say. So look, there are a couple of products that you could use. Definitely the NutriBurst, okay, because that is a vitamin. It's a liquid vitamin. Liquid vitamin is definitely better than the pill form of a vitamin because you're getting the nutrients, you're getting that absorption that you can't get in the pill form, okay? So I would definitely recommend that. I would recommend any one of the herbal teas that we have. Actually, this is my favorite. This is the original one. And it only has 9 essential herbs. It has the chamomile, it has papaya, it has ginger, it has myrrh, it has holy thistle, blessed thistle, persimmon leaves, marble leaves, and marshmallow leaves. So those are the only ingredients in this tea. Now, because it's a gentle detox, you can drink it every day. It's herbal. I mean, you have different ethnicities that drink herbal tea all the time. Okay. So it's okay to drink tea every day. Cause I have people ask, well, can you drink tea every day? If you could drink a sweet tea every damn day, you can drink a herbal tea every day as well. Okay. I'm just saying. All right. So this is one of my favorites. So it kind of cleanses your upper and lower intestines. It helps to flush out your kidney, your lungs, your liver. So it's doing all that great stuff inside of your system. It's getting rid of all that gut and gunk and stuff like that. It helps to control your appetite. Go ahead.
How long does it how long should you be on it? Is there like after you're on it, you need to take 2 days off and get back on it, or
you can drink it every day? I've been drinking this every day for 7 years, almost 7 years. I drink it every day. So I drink it just like it's a herbal tea. So I drink herbal tea. So why not drink a herbal tea that's great for me, right? So I drink it every day.
Stop drinking that dollar tea from McDonald's, cuz.
I don't drink that one. I drink that bullshit one from Bojangles. And
don't drink that either. I don't drink it. It got it has sugar in it. It has all kind of. It's not a pure tea. It's not even a herbal tea. Okay, so if you can drink a sweet tea every day, you can drink a herbal tea every day. So there's no limit to how long.
I tried it. I tried it, but I did it wrong because the milk, the one behind the NutriBurst, and then the tea. I was drinking too much of NutriBurst. It wasn't drinking enough of the tea.
Yeah, you gotta. That's what we call the synergy kit. So you drink this twice a day, 8 ounces, and you only just need 1 capful of this every day.
I didn't know you poured it in the cap.
You was just taking it. Yeah. You only need a capful, tablespoon. That's it. But a lot of people drink it because it's like the way it tastes. I was drinking it a lot myself. I was just going to the refrigerator every now and then, just turn it up, then put it back. It really has a good taste to it. So you only need just 1 capful every day, and this twice a day.
Well, I'm 2 times bigger than you, so I just get 2 caps a day.
Stop doing that.
No.
Stop doubling your meds for your
follow
size.
The instructions.
Because he have to read them. He don't read.
There you go. I don't read. All right,
okay, so if you don't read, listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth. Okay,
I got it.
Right, listen to the word. So drink this twice, 8 ounces with your lunch and 8 with your dinner, and just drink this once a day. This is my 2-pack bottle, so don't laugh at me, y'all. But just drink a tablespoon or a capful a day. Okay, that's all you need.
So
that's it.
So I should be seeing results in 2 weeks, like just slim results in 2 weeks.
Yeah, you should. It really depends on the person. I've had people, like one of my girlfriends, she lost like 21 pounds in 14 days. And, some people in 2 weeks, they lose 10 pounds, 7 pounds, 5 pounds. So it really just depends on the person. The average, I'll say, in 30 days on average is between 15 to 20 pounds in 30 days. And that's on average.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope.
As far as meditation, I've tried. I've tried several different times. I feel like I only ever almost achieved it like once.
Yeah.
What are your keys to proper meditation?
It is something that you have to continue to practice, continue to do. Sometimes it will take you a minute to get your flow. I would say guided meditation in the beginning is the best. Don't try to do it to where it's just you and there's no noise, there's no sound, because when you first get started, you don't know how to control your thoughts. You don't know how to, control your energy. So guided meditation in the beginning is probably the best way to start. And then don't try to jump right in and do 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes at a time, because you will be just thinking about everything. Okay. You absolutely get nothing out of your meditation. So just start with 5-minute meditation, 8-minute meditation. I actually have an 8-minute meditation. Actually, there's a program that I did, which is called 8 Days and 8 Ways to Overcome Doubt, Fears, and Obstacles. And so for 8 days, you're going on an 8-day journey. And one of those days is like an 8-minute meditation. And you do this every single day. But just 8 minutes of meditation, 5 minutes, I wouldn't do no more than 10 minutes when you're first getting started. But any guided meditation will help you, because they're kind of controlling, or helping you to control your thoughts. So when you're sitting there and you start thinking about, okay, I got to pick up, so-and-so after work, or, it's going to help bring you back to that place. Like, come on back, and let's go.
It's like every time I sit down to do it, I'm like, I wasn't thinking about nothing when I decided I was going to meditate. And as soon as I get in my position,
you think about everything.
Like everything just kind of. So yeah. I'm going to continue to work at it, because achieving, like the ears popping, the frequencies changing, I have achieved that before.
Yeah.
But my mind won't slow down, it seems like.
Yeah. It takes practice, and you'll get there. Like I said, that just start off slow, 3 to 5 minutes. Then, you progress to 5 to 8 minutes, and then you progress 8 to 10 minutes. And you just do it, you go up in time, the more comfortable that you get. But I would tell anybody, you can YouTube guided meditation if resonates with your spirit. And, start doing some guided meditation, and you'll be good.
So you do some entrepreneurship also, correct?
I don't know if that's my phone. Hold on 1 second, guys. I don't know if that's mine. Can you guys hear me?
It's cracking.
You're a little fuzzy.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
Go out and come back in. Just leak. No. Yeah.
Mute yours.
Sound like Ant-Man. Huh?
Mute your mic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hers.
Yeah, it's mine. My battery is going low, and I had to go ahead and get my charger.
Well, you got more shine to you now. But the entrepreneurial, yeah, the entrepreneurial part that you said you help people in that area.
Mm-hmm.
So just talk briefly about it.
So, okay. So what I do, one of the companies that I partner with, we do have an affiliate program where, if somebody does want to sell the products, they can absolutely do that as well. But I also have a coaching program that I'm in partnership with my same partner, which the name of the coaching program is Thrive4CBD. I'm not Thrive4CBD, Thrive Mentorship Network. And so what we do is we coach individuals on, how they can become entrepreneurs, how they can become, just independent, and just overcome different things in their lives that kind of hold them back. Okay. A lot of people don't know that they can become entrepreneurs because, for one, they were never taught that they could be anything other than a worker. So to get people to think differently, it has to start. Yeah, it's my battery. It's my battery.
The battery on your laptop or your headphones?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's on your laptop or your headphones?
No, it's on my phone. It's on my phone.
Oh, the phone itself.
Yeah.
It'll get it
my
together.
battery.
She's charging it now.
Yeah, I'm charging it now, so we should be good. And I know we about to wrap up, but yeah, I help people to, start on their journey to become entrepreneurs. Also, anybody who wants to partner with me as far as the affiliate program, they can do that as well, because it's a great way to, earn some extra income. And I've been doing it so long that, of course, it's become a part of my brand. So I do very well. And I just help the average person, just if you want to, earn an extra $200 a week, or extra $500 a week, or extra $1,000 a week. Yeah.
We average.
Well, I can show you what to do. I can definitely show you what to do. If that's what you want to do, I can definitely help you. I'll show you.
Well, check this out, because this has actually been a dope episode. We got this thing called time capsule, right?
Okay.
Time capsule. It's usually done by music. Music is universal. So give me 5 songs that help you either meditate, calm down, release tension. Just give me 5 songs. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the genre.
Okay. So, this may sound weird. Well, it's not gonna sound weird. Okay, nothing sounds weird. My mother was a big music person. Okay, and one of the artists that I love to listen to is Billie Holiday. That was one of my mother's favorite artists, Billie Holiday. And ironically, my daughter, who is a beautiful songstress, she was born on the same day as Billie Holiday, which is April the 7th. So her birthday is tomorrow. So if Nina watch, so happy
birthday, ma'am.
Yes. So I love listening to, Billie Holiday. She's one of my favorite artists. I love listening to Sade, or however you want to put it, right? Especially her first album, absolutely amazing. A lot of times when I'm home and I'm dancing, or before I start my workout class, I'll stretch to Sade, and then we'll, just stretch and breathe during Sade. So that's one of the things that I love to listen to is Sade. That helps me, especially with my fluid movement. She is one. Another artist that I absolutely love that kind of helps me relax a little bit is Minnie Rippleton. Okay. I love her music. Absolutely amazing, right? Minnie Rippleton. Yes, I love Minnie Rippleton. Marvin Gaye. Okay. When I tell you his music is so dope. Listen, and I got one more, and I'm a piggyback to Marvin Gaye, okay? And my last artist that I listen to help me relax is really just any music that I will find on YouTube that kind of raises your energy levels. They're different things, different artists, but anything that raises your energy levels, sometimes I'll go to sleep and listen to those things. So it's not a particular artist. It's just something that I listen to when I go to sleep. So those are my 5. Now, piggybacking to that Marvin Gaye, right? When my son, when he's 20, he just had a birthday last week too. He just turned 28. But the only way that he would really, really calm down, I would play Marvin Gaye. When we were riding in the car, I would play Marvin Gaye. And that would be the only thing that would just put him to sleep every time. And to this day, my son, 28 years old, he's a Marvin Gaye fan. Most 28-year-olds, they're not thinking about no Marvin Gaye. But my son, he loves Marvin Gaye because I used to play it for him when he was a baby. But that's it.
He was
He
had a divinely gifted voice.
That was your mama intuition though, with him and
yeah, because he was her favorite too. Okay,
Marvin Gaye and Luther Vandross had the most beautiful, effortless singing voices.
Effortless. Oh
Right.
my goodness. The one song that I absolutely love, especially to give me a little bit of wine and stuff like that. But that song, I
See her
want
rap
you.
loosening up?
Yeah.
Just a little bit of wine.
Hey, as soon as she get off, she gonna.
Listen, I got my wine ready. I got my wine. Okay.
You could have been drinking her on the show.
I didn't have time. I was trying to rush. I should have got my wine because it is the bottom of the bottle. But
You said it twice. Good time. Shit, you on point.
because I pay attention. But
Some
that
people can
song,
read.
I Want You by Marvin Gaye.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
That's a regular rotation.
My goodness. I'm like, man, that Marvin was something else. But yeah, so those are my 5.
Go ahead, Jay Warren. Run through them real quick.
Run through them. There's 1,000 million songs out there. Run through them real quick.
So do you want to know the 5 that get me hype? Is that next? No, I'm just kidding.
No, we just do this kind of like for the people that are watching. You never know who you might turn an ear to. Like I said, it's the things that 6 degrees of separation. You don't know that you have things in common with strangers.
This is true.
The Isley Brothers, man. The Isley Brothers are always gonna come up just because of the depth of what they do. Yeah, there's a lot of R&B, sensual music. Oh, I'm thinking the OJs. I'm sorry, the OJs. Forever Mine, Stairway to Heaven.
Yes.
Classic. Things like that.
Classic.
Those are the things that I focus on because those are the things etched in my memory from being 9-10 years old. So they've heard Voice to Atlantis a bunch of times. That's just it's just one of those songs that make me feel better.
Yeah.
Human Nature, Michael Jackson.
Oh, that's a beautiful song.
That's one of the songs that make me feel better.
Yeah.
The Beautiful Ones by Prince.
Beautiful song.
Yeah.
This is why our podcast is different.
Yeah.
In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins. Because it starts off.
Oh, yeah. It starts off really slow. Right. It's painting the whole picture. Yes.
And then it builds to just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. What about Art of Noise?
Oh.
Moments in Love.
I'm an 80s baby. Yeah. I'm an 80s baby.
Love. Yes.
But yeah, Santana. Maria.
I can talk music all night. Don't do that.
Oh, we should have started that out.
There's another show for that.
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Of course, mine will be Summer Breeze. That's gonna be mine of all time. Then they got a song called Struggle. It's with Anthony Hamilton. It's with Anthony Hamilton.
Oh, anything.
Jaheim. It's Anthony Hamilton, Jaheim, and somebody else taught Struggle No More. That's just, when you're down on your luck, you just don't want to struggle no more.
Yeah.
Marvin Cease. What's the one? I said to Lamont.
Candy liquor. So
I said Marvin Cease.
That's not the energy we own.
Yeah, that wasn't the energy we own.
Wait a minute. The candy liquor, that don't sound right. That don't sound right.
No. You know what I'm talking about, ain't it?
That don't sound too nice.
You said Marvin Cease, cuz. That's all I'm saying.
Who was I supposed to say?
Was you supposed to say Marvin Sapp or something?
Yeah, that's what I was supposed to say.
Oh, Lord.
I went from the hole in the wall to the first pew.
Yeah. Damn, I messed that one up bad.
Everything happens for a reason.
I can't remember the name of the song. Now he really threw me off. You know what song I'm talking about, right?
No, because all these people got 100 songs.
Hold on, give me 2 seconds. I'm pulling it up. It's the song he got on radio because it played every morning when I'm on my way to work. Never would have made it. I'm sorry.
Marvin Sapp. Okay.
Marvin Sapp.
Okay.
I said Marvin Sapp. All right, I got it.
Okay.
Marvin Sapp never would have made it.
Okay.
Black Men United is just my all-time greatest song of any type because it took every hip hop group in the 90s, put everybody on one track.
I don't know that song. What song is that?
That's on Jason Lyric soundtrack.
It's a song called "You Will Know."
Yeah.
Oh, you will know. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, I got you.
That one. And it's this song by this white dude, Lucas Graham. And he talking about getting old. It's called 7 Years. And in his song, every verse is a stage in his life until he's dead. Like there's a time when he's born, and there's a time that he's dead. And that's what the whole song is about. And when you listen to it, you just that's when music doesn't separate us.
Yeah.
You know, some songs don't separate us.
They don't. That's true.
And that's one of those songs. A young white dude from England or somewhere. He did
well,
the
if
song.
you think about it, the music back in the 80s, like a lot of times we didn't know the artist was of a different race until we saw the video.
I am such a huge Queen fan.
Yeah, Queen is the bomb. Oh my God.
Oh man, all that stuff.
Yeah, like we didn't know what color they were. I mean, even remember when like Culture Club came out and Tears for Fears and even, you know, Boy George and Wham. Nobody knew Wham was, you know, George Michael was white till we saw the video. You know, Tina Marie, nobody knew she was when she first came out. We had to see the album cover to know that she was, you know, a little white lady. You know,
Snow this week. Snow and
I still think she I think she French Creole or something. Cause I can't give her all the way white.
She had so much soul, but that was back then. You didn't like you said, music was the one thing that did not separate us. Like the music was amazing. The music was really good. Bobby Caldwell.
People didn't know he was white until like 2 weeks ago.
Nobody knew.
He said 2 weeks ago.
I knew he was white, but people didn't know
it
for
was
a
like
long
a
time.
lot of artists until you saw the video. It was like
John B was one of them. John B was one of them.
John B. I mean, come on.
John B
Remember Lisa Stansfield?
Michael McDonald.
Oh, right. Nobody knew. Like I'm like, hey, is he really? He might be mixed with something.
First of all, not anybody can sing with Patti LaBelle.
Exactly.
To be surprised and delighted that this shaggy white man sung the hell out of that song.
We need a DNA test.
It's still one of my favorite songs.
You got a black
baby.
He
was in the Bee Gees.
Yeah, he was in the Bee Gees.
Oh my God, I love the Bee Gees. Oh,
absolutely.
I love the Bee Gees.
So real quick, the end. Jennifer Hudson or Fantasia?
Fantasia.
Yeah,
Fantasia.
Okay, so
she got so much.
Go ahead. Let people know where to find you, how to get in touch, or support your businesses. Give them your face page and your Insta what's and your tactics and all that.
All that.
You know what you said. I need to put them apps on my phone.
She said, I need them apps.
Right. I'm like, top tips, that's a new one. Let me get that one. So listen, how you can find me pretty much on Facebook. It's my name, Nikki Alexandria, Nikki, 2 K's, 2 I's, Alexandria on Facebook. Ms Nikki on Ms Nikki 9 on TikTok. And then on IG, it is Nikki Alexandria, the number 9, because I'm not quite a 10, but I'm working on it.
Damn. I know that's right.
That's right. But I thought you were talking about like October, that's your birth month or something.
No, my birth month is December. So you guys can find me on all social media platforms. And for anybody that mentions the show today, if you want to try like a free sample of the some of my detox juice or whatever, just, shoot me a message and I got you. I definitely got you guys for sure. But, just mention, the show and I will see what I can do about sending you out some free samples.
Absolutely. So this is the final call. We are being rushed out the bar this time. And this is just your message to the people. You could be motivational. You could be petty. You could be informative. You just your final thoughts.
Tell them how you feel.
My final thoughts to the show, my final thought to the show is I stand with Chris Rock. He shouldn't have got slapped, right? Indeed.
Indeed.
What the?
I think that as men, as Black women, we want to be protected by our men, but also as Black women, we are also our king's protector as well. And so we have to look out for each other. And when you love your mate, when you love someone, you will not ever let them make a fool of themselves or put them in a situation that can damage themselves, their reputation, or anything like that. So that's all I had to say, because I just got a
Cruella
text
DeVille
message.
did it. I mean, Cruella. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, because I just got a text message with somebody asking me that question. That's why when you said, what's my final words? That's my final words. We got to look out for each other. Men, we want protection, but just know that as women, as Black queens, we protecting you on a whole nother level as well, especially when we love you.
Oh, man, I love it. Carolina, what you got for the people?
As I always say, network. I reached out to Nikki, I think in December, because what I just saw on TikTok, like that shit really like had my mind blown. That's why I reached out to contact you or whatever. And over time, we made it work. Yeah. And I just appreciated her when she did see it, and she's like, "Yeah, let's do something." Mm-hmm. And you've been on point ever since that conversation of, "Hey, let's do something, set up a date and all this other stuff." And you've been everything. So I appreciate what you're doing for yourself, for your culture, for your family. I appreciate what you've been doing. Like I said, just reading your bio, I'm like, man, you got your hands on a little bit of everything that's motivational. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got your hands on everything that's motivational to do something or be something in life.
Yeah.
And that's always motivational. And to network. When you network, it's not about what you get in return. Sometimes what you get is in the now. Mm-hmm. So the now is us talking to her and realizing there's other shit. Like I said, TikTok brought us together, but there was others. She has a woman of depth. So that's what I got in return of all this other stuff she's given us about CBD, because we've had episodes that we spoke on CBD. Mm-hmm. Nobody was a master at CBD, but we spoke on the episode. Mm-hmm. So we definitely want to have you back.
Absolutely.
I smoke the reefers. Keep the health. I smoke the reefers.
We definitely want to have you back, if possible. We
absolutely. It would be my pleasure. Thank you for having me today. Like, thank you.
Oh no, and then next time we do CBD, if you want to come back with that, it's open discussion after that. Now it is what it is.
Okay, hey, let's roll. You know I ain't scared.
Okay, so this is network. This is how you correctly network. You respect one another. BOTB. We in this thing every Wednesday and either Friday or Saturday night, man.
Yeah, so you long-winded. My final thought is we got to do better as a people, as a group. You know what I'm saying? Again, our mission here with what we do is the conversation. It's us being silly, but it's also us being informative. It's also us learning together. You know what I'm saying? Some people have more important things to do than drink liquor all day or sit on the street. But again, we just want to let people know it is all right to work together as a people. The narrative that we don't trust each other, we don't work together, we don't work well together, we got to put that in the past. And I think that's something that the opposing sides and the devils have put out there to make sure that we don't work together. So the goal is for anybody at whatever level to be able to sit down, have a fruitful conversation, and, move forward. I think her battery just finally died, and that's why she tapped out. But we're going to get in touch with Ms Nikki Alexandria. This is the Bottom of the Bottle podcast. I'm Jay Walker III. That's Carolina Dirt 803. Mash them like button. Mash them subscribe button. Tell two people to tell two people and all that good stuff, man. As always, we appreciate y'all, and we go.